want you to really put yourself as if this is a real assignment. Then I want you to make sure you take note on how I say I need support throughout this assignment. Welcome to the lab. So we're in the lab. Let's get some practice going. Let's do it. I want you to take this serious as if this is an assignment. If you never had one, welcome to your first one. Pay attention to what I'm saying. I'm going to flash the assignment up on the screen, and then I'm going to introduce myself as your team interpreter. Make sure you pay attention, and I want you to actually engage in the dialogue as if I am there. So when I say hi, say hi. When I say, how are you? Tell me how you doing. We have that small talk. I want you to really put yourself as if this is a real assignment. Then I want you to make sure you take note on how I say I need support throughout this assignment, and support me throughout my interpretation, because there will be moments for that. With all that said, go ahead and meet your team interpreter. I'll see you later. Hi, how you doing? This is my first time interpreting for this company. I know it's called Sunday Morning Coffee. I looked them up a little bit. I do know it's a new company. I do know this is one of their first podcasts that they're doing. I'm not exactly sure what they'll be talking about. But I do love coffee, so I'm excited to kind of, interpret this. Do you have any experience with this? Okay, great. Well, for any concepts that I was thinking of, the one thing I would think about is I noticed they use the word roast a lot. Sunday morning roast. I'm not exactly sure how would I sign roast. Do you have any ideas? Okay. Okay. That was one. And then it seems it should be pretty normal, casual conversation. So hopefully that stays like that. For teaming, do you have any preferences on how I should team with you? All right. Okay. Got it. Got it. As for me, when I need, I'm not the best at showing when I need help, but I will say when I'm interpreting, just make sure you're noticing and watching me. One thing's important for me is as I'm interpreting, just a little bit of you doing this visual feedback helps me make sure I'm on point. So that helps. And then when I need help, I'll definitely look at you. I might end up pausing in the midway looking at you. So that's a time where I'll need feeds. Other than that, let's do, this is a 20-minute video. So let's go ahead and just do generally sets of 5 minutes. And I know this is virtual, so it's a little hard to team with each other when it comes to using the chat. I don't use the chat feature, but I will just say interpreter switch. And then when you're ready, let me know interpreter switch back. One thing to know is before you go up, just like give me like a 1 minute or 2 minute warning before my time is done so I can make sure I can find a nice natural pause and then I can switch with you. All right. Okay. I'm looking forward to working with you. And sure, I'll go ahead and go first.
Hello, Sunday morning coffee talk fans. We are back. It is 2022, and we are so happy to be back live with you. We miss you, fans. How was your holiday season? We are hoping everyone is safe. We are hoping everyone is live and in charge and ready to make a difference this year. I am your host, Savannah, the owner of Sunday Morning Coffee Company, and it is my honor and indeed pleasure to welcome you to this platform where we provide knowledge, wisdom, and understanding on intriguing and exciting topics all over coffee. Sunday morning coffee. For those of you who are not familiar, our coffee beans are regal. We get our beans from all over the globe, and then when you place your order, we roast them that day. Why? Because that gives you the freshest experience. Our coffee is made from sustainable farmers all over the world. We care about our environment and we pass that along to our customers. So, for you who have already understood the power of Sunday morning, we thank you for maintaining your patronage. And we welcome you, new customers, to try all of our blends. We have many different varieties, and we are available on our website at sundaymorningroast.com and also on Amazon. If you have no idea which blend you would like to try, get our sampler box. Inside that box, you can customize up to 4 different blends. Why? Because we want to make sure that you have options, Sunday morning fans. We here at Sunday Morning Coffee love options. Today, we are extra hyped because this show kicks off our dope guest speaker series. This year, we will have authors, women CEOs, health professionals discussing post COVID health and fitness. We will have entrepreneurs explaining the Black Wall Street and 4 outstanding men sharing on grown men talk. Sunday morning, it's already been a great year. And our guests today are kicking off our guest series. We have 2 authors of a new book soon to be published called The Evolution of Technology, The Promise and the Peril. It is a book about the impact of technology on 2 of our country's largest generations, the baby boomers and the millennials. In an ironic meeting and generations apart, these 2 authors met and discovered their differences of how they perceive technology. And they decided to collaborate and actually make an opportunity for a great read for the world to discover that there is a good amount of information that creates a platform for a dialogue that could really help to bridge the gap between the generations. So, in co writing the book, they actually came together and they have been surprised to see and discover that they have more similarities than differences. We are really, really happy and we are so fortunate that today such great partnerships can come together out of the most inconspicuous circumstances. So, our first author, Tony Baldwin, who is a baby boomer, he has been an executive for several multi-million-dollar companies throughout the DMV area for most of his adult career life. He has a passion to help small businesses, especially startups, in connecting with powerhouse decision makers and helping them get contracts and funding to operate. Our second co author is Kareem Mitchell, a millennial. This young man is a young entrepreneur and the owner of De Niro Records Entertainment, an engineering and music beat company that helps young musicians and artists produce music. Sunday morning fans, please give a warm welcome to our two authors launching our guest speaker series today, Tony Baldwin and Kareem Mitchell.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
We are actually honored to be the inaugural guest in the Sunday morning guest speaker series. And I'm not certain if we're up to the standards of that august introduction, but we'll give it a good try. But thank you immensely for having us on, and we look forward to exploring um, some of the impacts that technology has on our way of life, and talking a little bit about where we see the future as it evolves, technology evolves.
Excellent. Well, this brings about my first question. And I'll start with you, Kareem. How is it that this even came about with you two, a millennial, and you, Tony, a baby boomer, coming together to write a book and then about technology that seems to be worlds apart for both of you, but you're collaborating? How did this happen?
Well, there was a workshop that I was involved in, and it was about communicating effectively with millennials. Um, and it was a workshop to other generations. So it was mainly an informational workshop about how generations differ in their communication and how technology can be a tool for that. So Mr. Baldwin was part of the workshop audience, and I was one of the facilitators. And through the workshop, some of the information that I had presented set off a light bulb to Mr. Baldwin, and he had an idea that he had been trying to do for some time. And he reached out to me after the workshop and said, "Hey, I have this idea of this book I've been wanting to do, but I didn't think that I would need the generational gap. But seeing the workshop brought that idea to him, and then he presented it to me, and I figured it would be a good idea. In my spare time, obviously, like you mentioned, I do music production and records, and so I do a lot of technological work. I do a lot of things with the new technology, modern technology, DIY stuff. So I have my side of it, and obviously with Mr. Baldwin being a baby boomer, he's also seen the evolution of technology as it's come, and so he's been a part of things that was past technology, has been a part of situations where he has used past technology and seeing the evolution of it today. I think that's what kind of gave us that connection that we set out for.
Well, Tony, what was it inside that workshop that sparked this idea for you to literally ignite or reignite the vision for the book?
It's a very good question. Actually, I think the prism in which we, at least speaking for myself, view technology, I view it perhaps more through a sociological lens. And attending the workshop, it dawned on me immediately that um, generationally speaking, as with anything that you grew up with and it was the norm,
Okay.
and we are at the end of the day products of our experiences,
Mhm.
and witnessing Kareem's presentation, it occurred to me that technology was part of his existence. So his perspective on it was totally different from my own,
Mm.
and where I tended to see a lot of peril with technology, he sees it from the prism of a great deal of opportunity and very much promise.
So let's go into that a little more of detail because that is an interesting subtitle, The Peril and the Promise. And just even in the context that you reference technology being a peril as a baby boomer and Kareem seeing it as a promise as a millennial, can you give us an example about the peril that you're referencing?
Sure. Most immediately, the the reality that you don't have any privacy is the greatest pearl. And that is perhaps the greatest prism from which I view technology. And also the impacts it has on our society and, frankly, our way of life. Uh, and again, if I extrapolate what can be done, unintended consequences with technology, how it impacts our economy. Um, in the wrong hands, all this great technology could conceivably eliminate a lot of the things that we've come to expect to get from humans. And in a capitalistic world where profit is a huge driver and shareholder value means everything to a CEO, what if some great technology got into the hand of a person who did not necessarily see his brother as his brother and was driven strictly by that profit motivation? And they happen to own, let's say, a multinational conglomerate.
Mhm.
The driver in many cases could be, I don't necessarily need to have as many humans to produce products or a process by which to bring things to market, and
Now,
I in turn can increase my profit motive. And the consequence, the unintended consequence there is, okay, um, the impact to his workers, if you will.
that's fascinating because you make a lot of legitimate, valid points, Kareem. The concern about privacy, the concern about replacing human capital, those are very real detriments to a CEO, a business owner, a chairman. How do you internalize that, the very technology that you may see differently?
Yes, well, I will say that the perils of the technology are that it could be a human replacement. It could be detriment to CEOs and the businesses. But on the flip side of that, it gives opportunity for everybody to become a CEO. It gives opportunities for everybody to become that driving force that needs that human replacement. So robots are robots and AI is AI, but people have to have a need for that. People also have to program them and have to operate them. So those are the promises of the technological advancements that millennials, and I'll speak for myself, but I do know millennials believe in that because we grew up in that. And so as we continue to see the evolution of technology, we don't look at it solely for what it's taken away. We look at it mainly about, okay, it's taken away this aspect, but it's opened up the door for this aspect.
And that is the unique perspective that I got from Kareem. So there's a balance here. Certainly, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. I think the challenges we're learning more and more every day is how do we balance that, the potential unintended consequences, because we certainly appreciate all of the advancements and innovations. As I've said, innovations historically have bettered our way of life. One of the things that we talked about when we started developing some themes and topics is, looking at, from my perspective, looking at how the innovation of the automobile transformed society, transform our way of life. And so balance is a critical component. We certainly want to embrace technology, but again, we also need to have some perspective on the impacts that are unintended, and then how do we mitigate the negative impact, and then how do we adversely, how do we maximize the positive things that we get from the innovations that are evolving every day.
So, Tony, because baby boomers were the single largest generation until the millennials, they were it. The baby boomers, there was no other generation that was larger. And a good number of your generation is very much still in the workforce. And not only in the workforce, but you're the decision makers. A good number of baby boomers still hold the helm of being the chairman, the CEO, the president. So, can you speak to how in the workplace today, there's never been more generations in the same workplace? Now we literally have five generations in one workplace. So, can you speak to how there are the challenges that being a baby boomer, probably a decision maker, in a workplace that's filled with millennials, that's your workforce.
Which is why the workshop was so enlightening to me, because you got um, feedback directly from a generation that has a totally different view on many different things. And I think we, as baby boomers or other generations, in many cases, we have to deprogram ourselves, because the things that we were and are motivated by aren't necessarily as important to millennials, especially. So it makes decisions as it regard recruiting. It makes decisions as it regards hiring. It makes decisions about how the workplace is structured. Um, Critically important, because you want to maximize your human capital, and you want to maximize the brain power that all of your team members bring to bear. And for lack of for being lack of being cliche, is you really want to meet them where they are, which is critically important. And um, for me, I gain a great deal of I get a great deal of learning from generations that are much younger than me. I think um, we bring a lot of isms to our point of view, and listening and getting some sense of how, in the case of Kareem, millennials view things is, is a benefit. It's enlightening, but you have to be willing to accept it, and you really have to be open to the point of view that said there are multiple ways to approach things.
Kareem, so can you speak to the challenges that your generation face in the workplace? I mean, certainly you're the largest generation now in the country, and you are in the age range where the majority of you are in the workforce. So, can you share with us some of these challenges of the other generations, specifically the baby boomers, that have these perspectives about technology when that's the way you all were raised, where everything was technology?
Yeah, so I would say one of the biggest challenges about technology with any generation is adaptation. Just being able to adapt to what the new technology is. And I'll give you an example. Most people in their elderly age, and I'm not sure the actual term of the generation, but the elderly, not 50, 60, I'm talking about maybe 70, 80. Those that generation is still operating on either the flip phones or the very basic cell phone technology. Um,
Okay, so that generation, they're called the traditionalists.
okay, so the traditionalists. So they're still operating, and to this day, I just seen a lady in the grocery store 2 days ago. She probably was about 80 something, maybe, and she still had the red flip phone, the old Nokia flip phone. And the reason for that is not that they can't get with what the new technology is, it's because they haven't adapted to it. So the touch screens, the face recognition, the text messages, even sending a picture, some of those things are taboo to some to traditionalists. And it's not like they probably wouldn't benefit from those features. It's just that they're not used to it. They haven't been able to take the time to learn it, or somebody hasn't been able to take the time to teach them, or they're just not willing to adapt to it.
Woo! All right, we done. We are done. So I will say it was nice working with you. Do you have any feedback for me? All right. Well, again, it was nice working with you. Definitely hope to work with you again. And until next time, have a good day.